views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Open, the one and only show that opens the Bronx and the rest of the world right to you. I'm your host, Daren, Jaime, and today we'll update you on what's happening in and around our borough, as well as across New York City. Coming up on today's show, we go front and center discussing the importance of receiving the seasonal flu shot, why it's important that you get vaccinated when it comes to the flu. Then afterwards, we'll learn about a project that's exploring the role of safe spaces in the lives of students. And then we'll talk about a program offering enrichment courses to students in STEM. We'll give you more details on that a little later on in the show. And then also we'll discuss how Citizens NYC is actively responding to relief efforts following COVID-19 as well as Hurricane Ida. And then finally, we'll learn about how one company is making young children excited about learning new topics as well as creating a relationship with reading. So we want you to stay tuned because all this and much more is heading your way. Right now, we're officially open. And hello, everyone, and welcome to Open. I am Daren Jaime, and today is Wednesday, September 29th, and you're watching the show that brings the Bronx and New York City straight to your TV set. We also want to welcome our viewers on Manhattan Neighborhood Network, as Open is being broadcast live simultaneously on the MNN channel. Now, if you want to stay connected to us, you got a couple of ways. The first way is you can follow us on our social media platforms at BronxNet TV, and of course, our website at bronxnet.org. Well, a lot has been going on through the course of the past week, and we'll take you through a couple of things with our Bronx updates. We start off with education news. New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio making the announcement that every public school in New York City will conduct weekly COVID-19 testing. The testing change began on September 27th and will be complemented by a relaxed quarantine rule for unvaccinated students. The mayor informed that the city will follow CDC guidance and let unvaccinated students stay in the classrooms in which there are positive COVID-19 tests so long as they're masked and following a 3-foot social distancing rule. Now, the president of the United Federation of Teachers Union, Michael McGrew, sent de Blasio and Chancellor Misha Porter a letter urging more stricting testing rules. Mulgrew's letter stated, quote, according to the Department of Education's most recent count, in the first week of New York City school year, fewer than half of our more than 1,800 schools and sites have been tested, and a total of 663 classrooms have been fully or partially closed, including the entire closing of one school. Now, BronxNet will keep you updated on these developments as they continue and bring you to them as more becomes available. Also now in community news, Empire Blue Cross Blue Shield is presenting this year's Bronx Fit Fest, and they want you to join them for fitness and dance classes, as well as some healthy living and some wellness tips, as screenings is taking place, including much more. Now, the event requires individuals to wear a mask and maintain social distancing during programming, regardless of their vaccination status. The event will be taking place on Saturday, October the 2nd, between noon to 4 p.m. at St. James Park on Jerome, and I should say at St. James Park between Jerome Avenue and West 192nd Street in the Bronx. There you can get in and have some fun. Now, if you want more information, don't hesitate to call 212-360-8214. Again, that number 212-362-8214. Well, that is all the time we have for our Bronx updates, but we are not out of show. Stay with us. Open continues coming up right after this break.
We know that people are dealing with the health crisis, but there's also a lot of food insecurity.
We're giving out healthy food options, and that's what's key here.
If you're a senior, you have a disability, they'll actually deliver meals to you.
The residents are anxious, they're worried, they're scared, they want to be tested.
When things were happening in our community and we couldn't get the help.
There's almost a presumption of criminality that attaches to your skin color.
The site will prioritize those who are at highest risk in the population.
If you feel symptoms and you'd like to visit one of these COVID-19 testing sites here in the Bronx, you may call the State Health Department's hotline.
Important to note about this site is no reservations are needed. This is a walk-in clinic.
A lot of us are out of work and looking for something to do.
We have the machinery and the skills to make large scale of these masks and gowns.
Take care of your people. It's going to go way further than we actually can understand.
Right now, employees like myself are just adjusting to the new reality.
Reporting from Bronxnet, this is Hostos.
And welcome back. The CDC is warning of the possibility of a bad 2021-22 flu season because of a lower population immunity to viruses, which were less in circulation last winter, and they're urging people to get the annual seasonal flu shot as an essential part of protecting their health. Now, while the world is battling COVID-19 this past year, there was a lull in flu activity, but experts warn that could only be temporary. Joining us now to share more details is the medical director at Healthfirst, Karen Costley. And Karen, glad to have you.
Thank you for having me.
So there is some concern. I mean, when we talk about the flu season, a lot of us are just really trying to navigate COVID, the Delta variant, and the other variants, but we also still have to pay very close attention to flu season. What can you tell us about what we can anticipate coming forward?
Well, due to the pandemic precautions that have been lifted, we expect the flu to be much more prevalent this season. So it's going to be important to use every protection we have possible to prevent that. So the flu vaccine is going to be very important this year.
And as the flu vaccine is important, talk about who should be the ones to actually get the flu shot.
So anybody over the age of 6 months who has not had a severe allergic reaction to the flu shot should be getting it this year. And this is the time to get it. Usually now through mid-October, early November is the most optimal time to get it, but we expect the flu to be circulating through March. So anytime you can get the vaccine, please get it.
Yeah. And so for common information, talk to us about the flu. We know how the coronavirus is spreading and what causes that virus to actually spread. But when we talk about flu, how does that work?
Well, the flu spreads similarly to the coronavirus in that it can spread through droplets when people cough or sneeze or laugh, and it can affect your upper airways, and it can also lead to more severe disease in your lungs, and even superinfection with bacterial infections, pneumonia that requires hospitalization and even ventilation. So to prevent any of those symptoms and to prevent severe flu, we would like people to get vaccinated and to practice the precautions that we've all been practicing because of COVID.
Yeah, you use that optimum word, which is symptoms, and sometimes people can not pay attention to some of the symptoms, but what are the symptoms connected when it comes to the flu?
So mild disease will have upper respiratory symptoms, cold, feeling sinus congestion, headaches, feverish, malaise. But some people will have severe infections and they'll have shortness of breath and chest pressure and severe malaise and require hospitalization. So if you're having any symptoms that you're concerned about, we would really encourage you to speak to your physician or healthcare provider and seek medical attention. But if you're having mild symptoms, you can treat it as you would a common cold and just rest fluids and medication as necessary for fever.
Yeah, we hear about the positive benefits that are associated when you take the shot for the virus right now. But what are the benefits for taking the flu shot?
So the flu shot helps prevent you from developing severe disease or needing hospitalization, and it also helps prevent you from infecting your family, your community, your coworkers. So we encourage everybody to get vaccinated with the flu vaccine and the COVID vaccine.
Yeah, you talk about flu and COVID vaccine, but I know a lot of people say, listen, once I got the COVID vaccine, I'm good. I should be, protected against the flu. And we know that's not so. But can you break down the difference between, if you will, that COVID-19 vaccine and then what we get with the flu shot?
Sure. So the flu is caused by the influenza virus, and the vaccine is really to protect you against the influenza virus. The COVID vaccine is to protect you against the coronavirus. So they're two different viruses that both can cause respiratory illness of mild severity to severe severity. So we would like you to be protected as well protected as possible against both, and that would require taking both vaccines.
Yeah. Can you debunk a myth for me? Because I hear a lot of times people say, well, listen, if I get the flu shot, that it really puts me more at risk for getting COVID-19 because my immune system is lower. I know you've heard that before. Share with us a little bit about that myth that you've heard.
So you will not be more apt to get the coronavirus if you get the flu shot. Both of these vaccines are prompting your body to make antibodies against each of the viruses. And they're different viruses, so they're actually getting your body to make viruses against each. So one does not make the other more infectious or you apt to get a more severe disease if you get infected with the other virus. So get the flu vaccine to protect yourself against the influenza virus, and get the COVID vaccine to protect yourself against the coronavirus.
Yeah. And Karen, I know there's some people have this aversion to needles, so they're, really hesitant about even first getting the COVID-19 vaccine. But when you talk about the COVID-19 vaccine, flu vaccine, are there something that I can get separate, or is it something that I can do actually at the same time?
So you can get both at the same time, and many pharmacies have both vaccines available to give, some provider offices as well, but you can actually get both at the same time. The CDC has issued guidance saying that we can get both at the same time.
Yeah, we hear about tips to help us out and what can help us out during the time of coronavirus. What can you tell us to really help us to avoid going down the path of catching a flu or, transmitting a flu during this season?
I would suggest practicing the precautions that we've all been practicing for the last year and a half, wearing masks if you're indoors, frequent hand washing, social distancing when possible. But the best protection you can give yourselves is really to get the vaccine. So I encourage you to do that.
Yeah. What are we finding so far? Are we finding that more people are actually coming in to get the vaccine, or are we seeing still a little hesitancy and delay?
Well, this is early in the season. Last year, we did see, I think the Bronx was only second to Manhattan in the number of percentage of people getting vaccinated. But again, this is early, this September, the flu vaccine just became available. So we're hopeful that we'll get really good numbers this year and that we won't see a lot of flu circulating because there's enough COVID circulating. We don't need that on top of it.
Yeah. And if a person does happen to contract the flu, what advice do you give them after a person has contracted the flu?
So you need to stay to rest and take it easy and to practice precautions that you would as you would with any other infectious disease. So you don't want to be close to anybody. You want to be practicing distancing. You want to be staying hydrated and resting. Remember, it's transmitted through droplets when you sneeze or cough. So again, you don't want to cough into your hand and touch anything, cough into your elbow, wash your hands frequently, and stay hydrated.
Yeah. Karen, some real good information. Hopefully our viewers will take full advantage. Hopefully we debunked a couple of myths and we can see more and more people get vaccinated for the flu vaccine during the season. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it. Have a great day.
All righty. Karen Costley, our guest here. Now, if you want more information, we encourage you, please visit the website, and that's at healthfirst.org, and then also on social media at HealthFirstNY. We encourage you, don't go anywhere. We've got more show coming up. Open continues coming up right after this. Welcome back. The ongoing COVID-19 pandemic has exacerbated the anxiety and insecurity many young people were already feeling. Now more than ever, they need places where they feel accepted. They also need to feel safe and express themselves without fear so they can grow as individuals within their very own community. The Safe Spaces at WHEDco project is providing students a platform to explain why safe spaces are actually important to them. And joining us to share more details about this is WHEDco's Senior Director of Research and Program Development, Dr. Nicole Lavan, and then also Senior Director of Education and Youth Development, Katie Aylwin. And we thank you both for joining us here on Open.
Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you.
Good morning. And so, Nicole, give me a little bit about this whole idea of creating safe spaces and the need and the importance of it.
This idea of creating safe spaces is really the idea of having both a physically and emotionally secure place for the young people. And we kind of think of that as both the absence of negative traits as well as the presence of positive traits. So that absence of negative traits creates a situation where the children and the young people are free from harm and risk, and the presence of positive traits is really a place where they can grow, be themselves, and express who they are and learn more about themselves.
Yeah. And Katie, I know you do this through youth and education programming. What are some of the youth and education programs that are available to actually help these young people?
So WHEDco serves 1,200 students across the Bronx at 3 of our partner schools. We have a kindergarten through 8th grade program and 2 middle school partner schools that we work with, as well as a teen program and a sexual and reproductive health peer education program that we have. And so we work very hard to make sure that all 5 of our spaces, as well as our summer camp, are all modeling the safe space that we can create, the safest possible space we can create for our young people so that they can have the best time and really feel as though all of our programming is a place where they can make mistakes and that there are people that will help them work through those and correct them and grow and learn from each one.
Yeah. Nicole, I know this is a part of a research initiative that was undertaken. Give us a little bit more about the research initiative and what you came up with.
Sure. So this is a research initiative that was supported by the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation. It was actually several years in the making. And like many things, it kind of changed course during the pandemic, but it was a collaboration between researchers from New York University as well as researchers in Amsterdam. And there's several sites in both cities, other nonprofits such as WHEDco. And originally it was really about the idea of confident futures. And then it really honed in on this idea of safe spaces, because as the research began, it became clear that really that undergirded everything, and that need to create a safe space where the young people felt that they could come and be themselves was just paramount. And we saw that in all the different sites across both New York City and Amsterdam. So as the project evolved, there was really this intense focus on understanding better what made a safe space, how did the youth interpret it, and sort of why was that even important?
And so I know that students have actually returned back to school. We know that, and we're hoping that all goes well during that. So that means that there's a need for after-school programming. Katie, a little bit more about after-school programming. How are you able to wrap these services into the after-school curriculum?
Well, we just started after school on September 20th. So really excited to have all of our students back with us 5 days a week for a full afternoon of programming. We haven't really been able to have the full robust programming that we are accustomed to since March of 2020. So we're really excited to all be back together. Students with us will be working on homework and different academic enrichments such as STEM or English language arts, but then also be able to participate in the many different enrichments that we provide, such as chess, art, dance, drumming. We have a sewing class, we have crochet, we have cooking, just all different kinds of activities for students to really figure out what their interests are, explore different things, try out and see and build skills, and just kind of pick a direction that they want to go in. And they can choose different ones each semester or stick with them and continue to build skills over time. So we're excited though to be fully back up and running and have all of our team back together.
And Nicole, as part of this, I know you tap into the hearts and minds of students trying to do some research and really find out what they are actually thinking. What were you able to uncover with the fact of looking at students and hearing from them? What can you learn? What did you learn, I should say, and what can you tell us?
Well, we really learned about how important a few things were. One is that connection with a trusted adult. So that's one of the things that came out over and over again, is just how important it was to have an adult that they felt that they could go to. In many cases, it was an adult who was someone like them from the same community, the same cultural background. So having that connection. Katie just named out a lot of the different activities that WHEDco's after school programs provide. And that was another element that the young people really talked about. So they had gotten involved in things like sewing, the gardening club, chess, things that for some of them they'd never really experienced before, like the gardening club. And it was really exciting for them to learn that this was something they were interested in and that they could grow and learn new things. For some of them, there was a connection to an activity. One young person talked about her family being tailors and making clothes. And so when she was in the sewing club, it really brought out that back, generations cultural connection for her. So all these different opportunities really became this area for the students to grow and try things. And they liked some things, they didn't do as well in others, but it was all a learning experience. And so that was another thing that was really important, being able to learn without being judged.
Yeah. Well, I know, Katie, when we talk about the pandemic, it's really had a huge effect on everybody, particularly students, and particularly in low-income communities. How have you been able to deal with that and the issue of the setbacks and other things that they've had to encounter coming out of COVID and back to a classroom and back to a learning environment?
Our entire staff has been working very hard. We've been training folks since we came back for in-person programming last September in 2020. So just really making sure that our staff are prepared for the many feelings that are bubbling up for all of our young people and for themselves. And then making sure that we're always in touch with the WHEDco social workers that are on site at each of our programs, so that we've received some great training from them, and they are definitely our partners in every piece of our work. And so working to make sure that we are addressing all of the mental health needs and really helping us continue to build the safe spaces that are so important for our young people.
Yeah. And Nicole, NYU played a part in this project as well. Can you give us a little bit more details as to what kind of role NYU played and how they factored in with the research initiative?
Sure. So this was kind of a project conceived by the researchers at NYU, as well as a university in Amsterdam. And what the NYU researchers in particular did, once they kind of crafted the focus of the project, is they had a young person in each site, in some cases 2 young people in each site. And the research team from NYU, in particular for us, it was Amaryllis Estrella, worked with the confident researcher And so the young person who really did all this research on the ground was Mario Infante, who's been someone that really knows the program well, as he was a young person who participated in the program and then is an after-school group leader and now is in social work school. And so the NYU team really taught all these young people who were the Confidence Futures researchers how to do ethnography, how to do observations, how to do interviews, and sort of really pull together all this different qualitative research and tell a story. So NYU is sort of the ones that really kind of made that research happen in conjunction with people like myself and different organizations who did some of that research, kind of co-producing together.
Yeah. And Katie, when we talk about our young people, you had a chance to deal with them throughout the course of the summer in an in-person format. How did that go, given the fact that we were still trying to navigate this? It was a little touch and go for a minute, but how did it work for you?
Summer camp was definitely a learning experience, even though we've been running summer camp for the last 20 plus years at WHEDco. Summer camp in the time of COVID is definitely was a learning curve for us. But it was just so great, the energy and the excitement and the joy for all of our kids and all of our staff to just get to be together 5 whole days a week, the entire day, and really get to be in community and learning and having fun and just doing all of our fun summer activities together. Again, was really nice. Last summer was we had remote summer camp, and it just, it's the best we could do, but certainly does not compare to in-person summer camp. So it was just really so wonderful to hear kids playing in the yard and playing in the gym, and even with masks on, we're still having a wonderful time. So it was really great.
Well, I want you to continue having a wonderful time. I know that you're back into in-person after-school programming and the things that you've got going on. So thank you so much for sharing with us, and continue the great work as you're impacting the lives of so many of our young people. Nicole and Katie, thanks for being with us.
Thanks so much for having us.
All righty. Well, I want our viewers to know, if you want more information, we of course encourage you to visit the website at WHEDco.org, and then definitely touch them on Instagram and Twitter at WHEDco Speaks. Going to take a quick break. We do have more show. We encourage you to stay with us. Open continues coming up right after this. And welcome back. Proyecto Access is a year-round program whose main objective is to increase the number of minority graduates in STEM majors. Now, the program offers enrichment opportunities and courses in middle and high school students in science, technology, engineering, as well as mathematics. Joining us now to share more details is the Associate Professor and Deputy Chair of the Mathematics Department at Hostos Community College, Dr. Moise Koffi. And Dr. Koffi, good to have you with us.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for inviting me to discuss our program activities. So I'm the Deputy Chair, I'm the Director of the Proyecto Access Program. And it is really, really important to speak to the Bronx community about our wonderful programs activities. So it's good to give, yes.
No, go ahead, continue.
Yeah, it's good to give a little background of the WHEDco Access program. It started here in the Bronx at Hostos Community College in 1996 with a funding from NASA. And the program was developed by ACU, the Hispanic Association of Colleges and Universities, in response to low freshman engineering enrollment among minorities.
And when we talk about this program, obviously it was designed to increase minority participation. Talk to us about actually who is actually eligible for the program.
Yes, so here I'm going to talk about two programs. So first, the program that serve high school students. And here, I mean, all high school students in New York State are eligible to the program. So also, it is a free program. So we provide enrichment courses and tutorial services in science, technology, engineering, mathematics. So all minority students, underrepresented and economically disadvantaged students are allowed to apply to the program.
And so as students are taking part in the program, I want to ask you more specifically about what the program details. So for somebody who's walking in the door and saying, listen, this sounds like something I'm interested in, what can they expect when they come through the doors?
Yes, actually, we are here to serve students who have really potential and interest in engineering and science. You see, it's really important that minorities are underrepresented in the STEM workforce. So for students that participate in the program, yeah, they receive enrichment courses in mathematics, at all levels of mathematics, physics, chemistry, engineering, computer science, and more. So we also provide research skills through engineering projects and science projects. And we provide software training in C++, Python, and Java, and more.
Mm-hmm. And you also have the opportunity for students who are taking part to really engage in internships. Speak to us about the value of internships and what that actually means in a student's life.
Yeah, this is really important. You see, students, when they come to the college, I mean, when they take courses, it is very important that they really have the opportunity to apply their theoretical learning in real life. So that's why our program offers opportunities for students to participate in internship. And this summer, for instance, a few of our high school students participate in internship with the Brookhaven National Lab, where they learn about astrophysics, scientific computing, and so on. So this is a way to prepare the students so that after graduating, you know, they know what the expectations of the real world. And research is also important because it's good to learn theoretical topics in mathematics, chemistry, and engineering. But without research, our students do not really understand beyond what they learn in the classroom. So it's a way to prepare them for the workforce.
Yeah. And talking about preparing them for the workforce, obviously, you know, you're taking part in science, technology, engineering, math. And for some students, I know for me, going into school, you know, math was a huge challenge for me. And I know that, you know, for yourselves and Hostos, you really want to see students go across the finish line. And I know there are some tutoring services that are also available. Can you share with us a little bit more about the tutoring program that's available for students who may have that little fear in saying this may not be my best subject, but it's something that I really want to pursue?
I completely agree with you. I'm a math professor. And in the classroom, sometimes I hear, oh, math is not for me. But really, what we are here to do is try to really create like a learning environment, a sense of belonging to our minority students, and also explain the purpose and relevance of math courses. So we have tutorial services. For instance, in the fall semester, we are offering tutorial services from 3 to 7 p.m. to high school and middle school students. At the college also, we are offering tutorial services in mathematics, in physics, in chemistry. So it's very important that our students have support services so that they can develop their growth mindset. So here, I mean, the student can receive instruction in the classroom, but they also need tutorial service or one-on-one tutoring, from a peer leader for them to really understand the topic. And then imagine, for instance, a high school student goes to the school and then they give them homework to do. So when they come back to their house, their home, for instance, there is nobody to help, because it's very important that this student receive help before going back to school and get another homework to do. So that's why we are here to tutor them, in mathematics, all level of mathematics, in physics, chemistry, and science and engineering.
And so going forward, students have the opportunity to apply. What is the deadline for people to actually enroll if they're interested?
Yeah, actually, I can say that we are now accepting application. Our deadline was September 20th, but we are still accepting applications because we need to serve the community really. The program is funded by the New York State Education Department, and to serve annually 350 students in the community. So we are here to serve them. It's a free program, and then all students can apply. I cannot, in terms of requirements, I cannot reject any student at this point because I understand the impact of the pandemic. So I encourage the community to send the kids, the student, high school student, middle school student to our program to receive tutorial services, because I understand that they have lost material due to the pandemic. So it's a great opportunity, and we have support services, and they have to take advantage of these resources.
Yeah. Well, Dr. Moise Koffi, thank you so much for being with us and sharing a little bit about the program. Hopefully we'll see an increase. We know that this is the way of the future, and hopefully more and more students will actually take advantage of the program. Thank you for joining us here on Open Today.
It is my pleasure.
All righty. Well, we want to let you know if you want more information, we encourage you to visit their website at hostosproyectoaccess.org and on Instagram at Proyecto Access. Now, we want to encourage you, please don't go anywhere. We do have more Open coming up. We're taking a quick break, and we'll be right back right after this. Welcome back to the show. Many New Yorkers are still feeling the effects and the impact and loss of life due to Hurricane Ida. Citizens NYC is here not only to help New Yorkers get back on their feet during this time of crisis, but also to amplify their voices as they develop solutions to combat these issues that will no doubt have to be dealt with in the future. Joining us to share more details is the Communications and Public Affairs Director at Citizens Community for New York City, Paige Travis. And Paige, glad to have you with us.
Thanks for having us. This is great. Thank you.
It is great. And I know that following Hurricane Ida, there was a survey that was actually conducted to really go into finding some more details. Share with us a little bit about what the survey actually entailed.
That's exactly right. So we operate in times of crisis. We were born out of crisis in the 1970s. And so this is what we do. And so the morning after the hurricane, our CEO said, okay, we have 15,000 folks in New York City who run community-led projects, and we need to know what they're doing, what they're seeing. These are grassroots leaders. And so we sent out a mass text and really just said, hey, are you guys okay? The morning after the hurricane, I mean, even our staff, you know, we were all checking on one another. So it was kind of a scary time, you know, each borough was different. The effects of the hurricane was different. And so we sent out the blast just to see how folks were doing, what resources they had or they needed. And we got about 200 responses back within, you know, the first 4 or 5 days. And that was impressive for us because it means these are grassroots folks on the ground that are saying, hey, you're willing to listen to us. There's a lot happening.
Right. And when we talk about a lot happening, I think that for us, it was unprecedented in seeing what happened with Ida. You know, the fact that we had to deal with torrential rains, and not just torrential rains, but also excessive flooding. Give me a little bit about the excessive flooding, because we know that this was something that we never saw before, where we saw the warning that New York and a tornado warning, not really in a hurricane warning. It really just became a real scary situation.
It was historic. It was definitely historic. So that was the number one bit of feedback that we got, was the flooding was excessive. I was talking to Senator Comrie out in Queens, and in his district alone, he lost 2 people. And he lost 2 people in their basements. And so the flooding is a real issue. I mean, the majority of folks are saying a lot of it points to infrastructure, the need to really address what's going on with infrastructure in New York City, what needs to be updated, overdevelopment, what needs to be looked at a bit closer, because climate change is here. And that's what this showed us. The survey made it very clear that folks are looking to understand, how do we address climate change now?
We looked and saw subway stations that actually were so impacted with flooding, water literally gurging down all the way into the tracks and really flooding walkways. What can you tell us about public transportation?
Well, that's exactly right. I mean, a lot of folks lost access to transportation, whether if it was trying to get home that day. I mean, folks that live in New York City, if you're on social media, or even if you watch the news, you saw the water flooding the subway stations. I mean, it was kind of a scary sight. And so I think folks are just saying, hey, we not only can't get out of the city, but then days later, how do we get back into the city? How are we working? So in conjunction with the loss of access to transportation, folks are saying we need to better understand, like, communication, emergency communication. If transportation is down, do I need to be at my job? Like, help so they were saying, you know, a lot of folks were saying they need to better understand, you know, what actions to take when these emergency situations happen. If transportation is down, how are we communicating that to the people?
Right. And connecting people with relief. I mean, obviously, many people never thought this would actually happen to them, but yet and still they find themselves in a place, flooding, lack of electricity, lack of access to public transportation. How are you going about connecting people with the relief needed, especially during a time like this?
Yes, exactly right. I mean, we're definitely in this moment where we're just assessing impacts. We've been talking to elected officials and just letting them know these are the needs that folks are saying is very real, that folks are dealing with. And it's interesting because the impact really did vary based on which borough, you know, you came from. We saw a lot of responses from Queens and the Bronx, especially this time around, Brooklyn as well. But even folks in Dumbo were saying, hey, for instance, my sink and toilet never floods like this. And it was flooding even in Dumbo. So it's just something to take note of and really just start having a conversation around, okay, what do we do next? This has happened once, we've had some loss. Let's talk about solutions now.
Yeah, and as you're getting these responses back, obviously they vary by borough and across the city. But is there anything in particular that really stood out to you as you started to unpack these responses?
It's a good question. You know, generally speaking, folks were stranded, and folks. I'm just thinking back to Senator Comrie saying, the infrastructure in his district. Infrastructure was the number one bit of feedback that we're getting, is so old that the sewers were overflooding. Like they were getting backwater from the sewers. And that's not pretty in New York City. And even after, the water dissipated, there was a ton of trash everywhere. So we're just hearing that we really need to talk about infrastructure. And even on the national debate, the president has talked about maybe looking at infrastructure as a means for driving economic opportunity. So it's a conversation that we really should look at closely. It's not the first time that a hurricane has hit New York City. It's not going to be the last time.
Right. What was the big difference for you between Sandy and like this right here?
So some folks were saying 9 years after Hurricane Sandy, the area, even the projects in the Lower East Side, nothing has really been improved in that area. So folks were saying after Hurricane Sandy, the public housing there, folks were asking for there to be some dams put up, for there to be some protection put up there. And 9 years later, nothing's happened. So even now, and this was about a week ago when we got responses and kind of started to document them, there was still stains on the wall from water residue. So really the same thing is happening. It's like the lessons learned after Sandy were kind of like, oh, this happened, and then no actions were actually taken for the now.
Yeah. What about electricity? Because I know that was huge. A lot of people experienced power outages. Were a lot of people who were giving you your responses really speaking to the electricity issue?
It's true. It's true. Electricity in particular, folks were saying because power were down, it really impacted their ability to communicate. So letting people know that they were safe, but also getting a sense of if it was safe to go out and about. But some people did lose electricity for up to 3 days.
Wow. And so for people who want to get connected and find out more to how to be connected to what you do, what do they do?
Yeah, so we're at a moment here at Citizens Committee for New York City where we're relaunching our grant application process. What we do is we award grants throughout the city to everyday New Yorkers. These are people who may have been impacted by Ida and they want to do something in their community. They can apply for a grant through our All in Neighborhood grant program. We award up to $10,000 to everyday people who say, hey, I have an idea. And so we invite you to follow us. We invite you to apply. Applications open up this November. And then we're also hosting an Ideas Summit in October. So we'll have elected officials. For instance, State Senator Liz Kruger will be there. Haitian Times media will be there. Really having a real conversation. Our grantee partners will also be there about what solutions look like. Tell us from a grassroots leader standpoint what you're seeing on the ground, and let's talk through the issues. So that's happening on Tuesday, October 12th.
All righty. Well, Paige, we got to leave it there, but thank you so much for sharing good work that Citizens NYC is doing to really capture the pulse of New Yorkers. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
All righty. Well, I want to let you know if you want more information, please don't hesitate to visit the website at citizensnyc.org and then on Facebook and Twitter at Citizens NYC. Thanks to Paige for being with us. We got more show. Don't go anywhere. Open continues coming up right after this. Welcome back. MailPop is a company that's actually creating some fun and engaging way for children to learn new topics and also to develop their love for reading. And children have healthy play experiences while learning new educational themes each week. How has the company helped the children learn through the pandemic? Well, joining us to share more details is the founder of MailPop, Daniel Somech. And Daniel, thank you so much for being with us.
Hi, Daren. Thank you so much for having me.
Glad to have you, and thank you for the work that you're doing. So for somebody who doesn't know about MailPop, give us a little intro.
Absolutely. So I love to start with our mission, and our mission is to spark kids' intellectual curiosity and help them develop the love for learning and reading. And the way we do that is by sending out these beautiful educational letters with a fun surprise delivered to kids' mailboxes each week. So every week they get a new letter from us, and every week is a different theme. So for example, this is our coral reef themed letter. There's a few sections in the front, the content of the week, which is all licensed through Encyclopedia Britannica Kids. We have the word of the week section to help build up the kids' vocabulary, and the question section, which is meant to spark a conversation in that household and have the kids learn more about each topic. And then on the back, we have an activity sheet. This is to help with cognitive development, problem-solving skills, and really to have the kids work with pens and markers to complete all the activities. And we have a maze, a word search, a coloring in section, a tic-tac-toe, and an enrichment activity, which is another activity for the kids to do and prolong this experience. And of course, the papercraft 3D toy, it comes in a card like this. The kids pop it out, they tape it together, and every week they get a new toy correlating on the theme that they learn to really take that learning experience into play.
Pretty amazing, pretty amazing. So tell me, I mean, you're the brain trust behind this. How did this all get started for you?
Yeah, it really all started kind of during the pandemic. I was working at a startup at the time, and unfortunately, like millions of others, got laid off when the COVID hit, and had all this time with my wife and my two children and got to absorb them more than I normally get to, and noticed that they were not paying attention as much as we wanted to their online Zoom classes when everybody had to quarantine, and then they wanted to watch a movie and play on the iPad, and it was a lot of screen time. And the one thing they got excited about each day was getting something in the mail, packages, letters. And they always had the same question for me is, why aren't any of these letters addressed to us? And in reality, it was all junk mail and promotional stuff, but it gave me this idea of how can I channel all this enthusiasm that they have for this into something more beneficial than a toy or a clothing item. So I came up with this idea to write my own letters for them. I put a little surprise in each envelope and put it in the mailbox. The kids would come home, they would bring it in, we would read it together as a family, and I saw how much they enjoyed it and how much they were learning from it. And I figured this could be something that many other families could benefit from, and a great idea for a business. And my wife and I decided to just go for it and bring this idea to life. And it's been something which has been a real blessing and something I'm really proud of.
Yeah, and I know a lot of kids get hooked on the fact that they get mail, but I also know a part of that is also the Captain Mail mascot. So yes. How did you come up with the Captain Mail mascot, and give it and show us the Captain Mail mascot if you can?
Of course. So, Captain Mail came through just an idea of how to make things even more fun for kids. And we got some feedback from customers who were wondering, how are they even getting these letters? Who's sending it to them? And that's when we thought it would be fun to introduce Captain Mail. And you can see Captain Mail here, the mascot on our logo. And Captain Mail is a gender-neutral character and the kid's sidekick. We believe that the kids are the heroes, and Captain Mail will give the kids attainable superpowers on a weekly basis. So not things like flying or super strength, but things like courage and determination and creativity and inclusionness. And this way the kids get to learn about this new moral value each week and help them grow their confidence and help them to be the best versions of themselves.
So you got Captain Mail going, you got the kids participating who are receiving letters. Is there a particular age group that you're targeting when it comes to getting these letters out?
Yes, so the recommended age group is 5 to 10 years old, but really the letters and the materials are the same for the entire age group. The older kids should be able to do everything on their own. The younger kids might need a little bit of help from their parents, but it makes for a fun bonding experience on a weekly basis where you can have this meaningful educational conversation around a new topic and just spend that quality time with your kids.
Yeah. So you started this out during the pandemic. You're working it through. You and your wife are doing this, and it starts to blossom and blossom and blossom. But then you get this partnership with Encyclopedia Britannica. And
Yes.
anybody knows that that's not an easy feat to actually do. So how did go about connecting with Encyclopedia Britannica and being able to do this in this kind of way?
Yeah, they've been a great partner of ours. And, you know, when I first came up with the idea is trying to figure out how could we develop the content for each letter. And we wanted to make sure that we could offer the best possible content to our customers. Also, especially in today's world with all the misinformation and fake news, we wanted to have a trusted source that the parents can feel comfortable putting in front of their children, knowing that it's accurate. And also helping the kids be aware that the source of the information matters. So Encyclopedia Britannica is on the bottom of each article, pointing that out so they can start building that awareness. And the way we got to them is by a lot of persistence, just reaching out to the team over there, explaining to them what we want to do, and working in collaboration with them to really make MailPop as best as we can. And I'm really proud about the partnership with them. And it's been something that, you know, we're really excited about.
Yeah. So I know some parents are watching right now saying, look, my child. How does my child actually get their hands on this material?
Yes. All you have to do is visit our website at www.mailpopkids.com. You can learn more about MailPop. We offer 4 different plans that can fit any budget. The plans start as low as $4.50 a week, so fairly affordable for many families. And you know, we're just excited for people to try to do it with their kids. We've gotten some great feedback to date, and it's just something we would love to continue and grow and do as best as we can to give back as well.
So how's it working for you? Because obviously you put the material out just about every week. So are you spending your week developing content and then at the next time also make it, how's it working? Because you got to deliver the stuff and it's got to get out to people. So how do you make this work?
Absolutely. Yeah, we definitely have our hands full, but we've got a good system in place. We have amazing designers that we've sourced who help us design each letter. We have an educational advisor who helps review all the materials, making sure it's age appropriate and engaging. And we have a printing partner who can print and ship the letters all over the world. So together, you know, it's a small, lean team, but we work efficiently and we got a good system in place to create new materials, new letters all the time, and do something really special together.
Daniel is innovative as well as amazing. I want to thank you so much for being with us and continue success with MailPop as you're helping kids go to another level. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Daren. It's great being on the show, and I appreciate your time.
Yeah, if you want more information, visit the website at mailpop.com and then also on social media at MailPopKids. And you can find out all that you need to know. Very exciting and very innovative. I want to let you know also we've come to the end of our show today. I want to thank all of our guests for joining us. And most of all, you, the viewer, for tuning in. Now, if you missed any part of the show, you can catch the Recablecast on Bronx Channel 67. Of course, if you have Verizon Files, that'll be Channel 2133 or anytime on the web at bronxnet.org. Also give a special shout out to all those who are watching on Manhattan Neighborhood Network. As Open is broadcast live simultaneously on the MNN channel. And if you want more information about Open, well, guess what? I'm the Wednesday Open. You can see us on Wednesday. You can see us on Thursday. But if you want a brand new episode of Open, I encourage you to come back Friday morning. My girl Rita Valentine will bring you the best in arts and entertainment. Until then, I am Daren Jaime. Till the next Wednesday Open, we encourage you to stay safe and most of all, keep this channel wide open. Take care and God bless.